Now on Fox 4 News, Hurricane Irma losing a little strength, but it is still a monster Category 4 storm as it's barreling closer to southwest Florida, where a number of communities are now under hurricane warnings and mandatory evacuation orders are now in effect for several parts of southwest Florida. We have more on that in just a few minutes, but first, good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Amy Wegman.
I'm Patrick Nolan, along with Storm Shield 4 meteorologist Tony Sadiku. We are live on the air with you for at least the next 7.5 hours. There's not a question. We're not going to try to answer for you, but the biggest one right now, of course, Tony, is what is happening with Irma's projected path.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been paying very close attention to the projected path here over the past several days, and you've seen the models waffle back and forth, but I think they're honing in on a more westward track, and that's going to mean greater impacts here for us in southwest Florida. I'm going to try to detail that the best that I can here over the next couple of minutes, but right now, take a look at satellite. This is still a monstrous storm. Yes, it has weakened since yesterday. It's no longer a 5, but it is a very well-defined 4. A little bit ragged as it's gone through some eye replacement cycle, but still the eye is not impacting any land areas, but we are seeing some of the effects of the hurricane force wind field. Remember, it's 70 miles out from the center, impacting some of the central Bahamas, north sections of Cuba, eastern half of Cuba as well, as you see it tracking on off towards the west. So it's made some jogs towards the west-northwest, but overall the official track is towards the west. And hurricane hunters have been flying in and out of this thing over the past several hours and past several days as well. So the latest we know now, 155 miles per hour. This is a Cat 4, but 2 more miles per hour would make this a Cat 5. So this is a very strong Cat 4. Track is west at 14. Pressure now at 925 millibars. And you can see it is going to continue generally on a west track, at least through tomorrow. And then at some point tomorrow, we'll make that north turn. And as it does so, it's likely to shift, or rather stay on a west course before making some sort of landfall somewhere between either the Florida Keys, Monroe County, or Collier or Miami-Dade County here as early as Sunday morning. That's the official track. That's that red line. But of course, we tell folks not to focus on that red line specifically, because everywhere in that cone, we could see significant impacts. And yes, they could see the eye wall as well. That forecast track has it staying off towards the north, weakening because that eye will be on land. So the friction between the land will help to weaken this thing significantly as we approach late Monday. So it'll likely be a Cat 1 by Monday as it continues to track on into the southeast part of the United States as either a tropical storm or depression. So notice the spaghetti plots. We've been watching this very closely, and they've been shifting, right? But right now you can start to see the trend is basically somewhere across the state we are going to see a landfalling hurricane, and that's of course the unsettling part. But there is some good news as a lot of preparations are now underway, and of course we'll get to those in a second. But hurricane warnings are in effect. There were watches yesterday. They have been upgraded as time comes closer, and of course that was expected. So anywhere Glades, Hendry, and Collier County, a hurricane warning is in effect. That means hurricane conditions are expected. That means make your preparations and finalize them, because hurricane conditions are expected. Watches means they are possible and could certainly be the case, especially if the forecast track continues to shift off towards the west. So watches in effect for Lee and Charlotte counties, also includes Sarasota, DeSoto County, and points to the north as well. Storm surge warning has also been in effect. This is that new product from the National Weather Service that is basically to alarm folks or provide a heads up about the potential for some storm surge conditions. So that does mean the threat of storm surge does exist based on the latest track, that we could see significant storm surge anywhere up and down this coast. So anywhere from Venice all the way down south into coastal Collier County, threat for storm surge does exist. Our storm shield predictor shows basically what we'll start to see as early as tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, starting to see the onset of those stronger winds. Tropical storm force winds are possible, and then some of those outer bands will start to work their way in overnight and through sections of Sunday before that eye makes landfall somewhere along the southern tip of the state, and that could be a little further east, a little further west. At this point, we can't specify, but it really does not matter, because I think everyone should just take heed that they should prepare for at least the worst conditions in their neighborhoods. So the track will continue to track on towards the north once it makes landfall and quickly weaken from there. The expectation is for those winds to start to pick up at some point tomorrow night. In terms of tropical storm force winds, those are winds in excess of 34 miles per hour, and then into hurricane force by the time we get to overnight into Sunday. Notice there will be a prolonged period of time in that time frame, basically all day Sunday, where we will be experiencing at least winds of 74 miles per hour. Some of the models are showing 100 plus gusts in the neighborhood of 120 will be possible in some portions of the region, especially closest to the eye. Remember, the eye wall is where we see the strongest winds. Inside the eye, it is calm, blue skies. Keep that in mind. But remember, on the back side of the eye, also going to see the strongest winds. And then also back behind it, beginning late Sunday into Monday, could start to see the wind subside gradually. So the total rainfall is still going to be significant. In fact, flooding is a possibility, especially if we get to 8-10 inches of rain. We've seen our area flood with a whole lot less than that. So that is going to be one of the potential threats. But I do think the biggest threat at this point is the wind. Storm surge is next, especially because we know our area, especially coastal sections of Southwest Florida, is especially susceptible to storm surge. And of course, we have more information on that on our website. And also flooding, a big concern. The risk for tornadoes is there, and it will depend exactly on the track. On the eastern, northeastern side of the system, that's where you tend to see more tornadoes, but we're certainly not out of the woods if you're on the western side or the southern side as well. So the bottom line here, it's your final day to prepare. We want folks to certainly heed all warnings and evacuate if they have been ordered to. If you've not been ordered to evacuate, probably not the best idea to at this point, because that only congests the roads even more and prevents other people who are required to evacuate from doing so. Hurricane conditions are expected, and we do expect the worst conditions some point between Sunday morning and Monday morning. So that is what we've got for now. We're going to continue to track the very latest to show you exactly what we are expecting here in Southwest Florida, and another update coming up in just a little bit. Patrick.